Welcome back. In our Selenium with Java series, today we are going to see the browser elements. How do we automate different kind of browser elements? So, in our previous session, we have seen the locator strategy, means how Selenium is actually identifying and what and all are the available methods we have seen. Now, by utilizing those methods, we have to automate or we have to validate different properties and different actions of a browser elements. So for this today we are going to see for text box, like what and all different ways we can validate a text box or a buttons, like what kind of operations we can use in buttons, and then radio buttons, and then we will see about checkboxes. Okay, so for this I have to, so let me just go ahead quickly about the details about what we are going to see in the programming side. So on the text box, if we will see, normally you can see the text box is simple a text box which type would be like text. We have seen this one, how HTML is identifying a input tag which is a what do you call text box by looking into the type. Okay, now what are the actions available for a text box? Normally you can type something into a text box. You can, once you typed, and then you will validate that whatever you typed is really that is displaying there or not there. Any space problem, or if you are entering an integer, you have to make sure that the integers are properly displaying. If you are using any special characters, let's say at the rate or exclamatory mark or pound sign, so those things should be displayed as you typed. Okay, so that validation we can do that. Another instance would be where you entered something and now you have to delete it, and after deleting you need to make sure that there is no other text remained in that. So these are the three different kind of what do you call properties or actions or the responses that we need to validate actually. So let's quickly move to our demo application which we have seen already. So this is our the text box. You can see full name, email and telephone. Now we will try to identify the full name text box, and then we will verify all the actions that we can perform. Okay, so for this let me move to locators, a package which we created yesterday. I'll just copy this one and I will make it paste, and then here I'll just say that maybe text box sample. Okay, text box sample. So here all the text box related stuff we will be learning today. And for this let me just delete everything. I don't need all these things, and let me just keep a thread dot sleep so that we can see the action, and then give 3 seconds. That's it. Okay, now this is my URL, and to load this URL let me just put it a 2 seconds. Don't worry, in our future sessions we will see how we can handle these waitings without using the thread dot sleep. Okay, so for this let me just inspect it, and then as you can see, so this is my input where id, class, everything is there. So let me take the id actually here. So what I will do, I'll put like this: web element. Now driver dot find element by dot id, and then here I'll put this one. Oops, it's username, right? Now here, so in our previous session we have seen directly like this, right? Driver dot find element, and then we used to give something and then perform the action. Directly we used to perform the action. But now what we can do, we can even create a variable. Like variable in the sense, how are we creating a variable? Normal variable in Java we can create like this: string str, int I. Okay, like this we can create variables, right? The same thing, there is a variable of type web element, because this find element normally returns a web element. You can see here the find element is a method. Inside that, I mean, the return type of this find element is a web element type. So that's why I have to create a variable of web element type. Okay, now here, so like how I was doing driver dot find element dot, the same actions I can do by putting el dot. Now it's a text box, right? So I can use send keys, and here I will put qavbox so that it will print that into the application, okay, onto that username field. And after that, what action I can perform? I can fetch the data, whatever data I am performing here. So I will do one thing actually here. I'll put a string str equal to, I'll make it as qavbox so that it will be easy for me to identify. So instead of a hard code, I can even put str as well here. Okay, I can do that as well. Now here what I can do, I can fetch actually. So fetch means whatever the string I typed, I want to read that value from the text box. So there is an option el dot get attribute. Now get attribute of value. Now whenever I put this one, whatever I typed, this get attribute value will return me that particular string. Now what I can do here, I'll put a string and I will say actual. Actual means which I'm fetching from the what you call browser application. Now what I will do here, I can compare actually, because see, Selenium is for validating something, right? So you have to validate against your requirement. What is your requirement? Now whatever the string you have entered, you should fetch the same thing only. It should have typed exactly same thing. Or else let's say that I have put like this, I mean some special characters. Now the same exact thing I need to get it from the browser actually. So I can do like this. So actual means whatever I'm fetching. So actual dot equals with what actually, with our str whichever we put. If it is matching, I'm just taking it as a string, and here test case passed. I'm just doing a dummy sample actually here. Okay, test case passed, else test case will fail, or whatever action you can do that. Now the second thing what I need to do, now I will wait for a moment, let's wait for some time. And then here the last thing I need to verify whether, what do you call, if I want to clear it, or else let's say that I am putting something here. Okay, I'm putting something here, and now I want to uh, delete actually all the content. What I can do, now you see, if I'm deleting, there is no value actually here. Now here what I can do, el dot clear. I can do clear is a method to delete all of your content actually from there. So delete all the text box content. Fine, like this you can do that. Now here you can again do another if else condition. Now what is this, actual dot equals. Now what will be the actual, you have to again fetch that actually, because see, now what will happen, after clearing, if you are using this actual variable, then it is already there whatever you typed before. So you have to again fetch it at the runtime after you cleared the, what you call, text box. You have to fetch the content again. So always make sure, don't use the same variable like here again. You have to reassign the latest value after deleting. Now here again I will do get attribute, and then here I will make it value. Now this should be null actually here, like I can do like this. So I will say actual, okay, actual equal to null. Okay, I think it will be null. Let's see what it returns actually. Maybe what I can do here, I can put a s out, and then here I will say after clear, what is the value it is printing, we will see that. So actual, okay. And then here anyway, I'm sure that whatever I'm typing, that should display here. Now here after deleting, we need to see what is the actual value it is returning me. Okay, after deleting that, then I'm just comparing this one. Now here I can say, I can do like this. So this is basically the clear test case, right? Just to make sure the proper output. Okay, now we are clear. So there are three actions. One is sending the text, fetching the text, delete the text, and then fetch the value again and compare it. Now let's run this one. Okay, it printed, now it is comparing, now it deleted, now it is comparing and then closing. You see, Now after clearing whatever we fetched again on the runtime, that is coming as blank. Blank means it is basically null. So that's why you can see it is not actually null actually. It is actually blank. I can do like this. So here I can do like this. I think it will ask you to, because it is a string, you have to make like this. So actual equals, and here you have to put a null actually here because it is blank, right? So that's why it is null. Let's quickly again rerun this one. Okay, as you can see, it printed. So it was actually not null, it is blank. So there is a difference between null and blank actually. Blank means there is nothing, null means the object itself is null only. So that's how you can test it. Now the normal logic why we are learning all these things, if in case let's say that in your application you encounter a text box, you have a text box. Now you can test actually all these possible ways. Even there is one more thing which you can test. Let's say you are dealing with a username field. Now username can contain only 35 characters, let's say that. Now what happens, now here you have to type actually 35 characters, you have to send keys, do 35 characters, and then you have to read, I mean fetch it, and then count the norm all the characters that you have fetched. That's a normal Java concept actually. Like here you can see, let's say that this is all 35 characters. Now you have a like what do you call, you have a requirement where your text box can contain up to 35 characters only. So what you can do, maybe you can create a string which is having 40 characters. Now you try keep on entering the values, you do a send key. But see, even though you have 40 characters, your text box has the capacity of 35 characters. The developer can put that. Now what you can do, you put all the details, you do a send key. Now fetch it by using the get attribute value, and this actual will be, you can fetch it as a string. Now calculate the number of characters in that and make sure that it is only 35. Even though you did a send keys of 40, you will fetch it only 35. That could be one of the scenario, you can give it a try. Another scenario would be, let's say that you are typing all these things. Now some text boxes only accept the alphanumeric value, no special characters are accepted there. So at that moment you can do a send key, and then you have to verify whether you are still able to type these things or not. So these are the possible way of what you call testings you can do on a text box. Fine, so keep these things as in as note actually, like clearing a field and verify and count the number of characters and count a specific, some like telephone field is there, right? You can only enter integers only there, it won't accept any kind of alphanumeric. So those are the different types of what you call different ways you can validate and then make sure that your text box is working as expected. Okay, fine then. So you can give it a try, and if you're getting any issues, please let me know, we can discuss later. Fine. So this is about your text box. Okay, we have understood all these actions. Now there is another type of input tag is there, that is buttons, whereas the type equal to, you can see type equal to button actually here. Okay, and here basically you will get it like so if you see here, you might get two types of input actually. One is where you can see like this value home. Now whenever the value home is there, whatever you want to display here button text, the developer would have put that as a button value. Some inputs you might get as input id and then input, and inside this you will get a home. Okay, now to get the value, like if there is a value attribute, you have to use the get attribute of value. If there is inside input beginning and input close tag, if any value is there, if you want to fetch it, you have to use the get text. Fine. Now what are the actions? Simple actions. You have to first find it out what is the value of that particular what you call button. Normally we will see, let's say that if you have a registration page, there is a requirement that at the bottom of the screen, after you fill all your details, there has to be a submit button. Some applications might have a requirement where next button would be there, go button would be there. Now you have to validate what is the button text that is displaying. Okay, that could be one of the scenario. Another one, the actual action you can perform. Some all the buttons are for the clickable event only, so if you click it, it will click that. So there are two, so for the getting the text, I already told there are two ways. Depending on which situation you have, you can use the methods. To click, selenium provided a click event. We will call that by using the el dot click or the driver dot find element dot click. Let's see on the buttons. Now for these buttons, again we will go with the same what do you call, the same application only. Now if you see, if I go to the home button, you will see, you will get this screen. Normally I am into this screen, right? Now I will navigate directly to this particular url and click on this button. Okay, now two things I need to verify. One is the button text. If I right click and inspect, you will see the name is home, right? But the value is capital H actually. Here you can see that one. And then if I click, then the what do you call, the URL should be this one. A driver, your web driver has that what do you call feature where you can fetch what is the current URL of your browser, where it navigated. You can identify that. Okay, so these are the two validations we will do by using buttons. Fine. Now let me copy paste this text box, and then I will paste it the same code only, and I will be changing, and I will put buttons sample. Okay, now here I will go to the sign up only, but here what I'm going to do, I'll delete these things and we will write from fresh. Okay, now what I will do here, web element and then element equal to driver dot find element by dot name, and here small home. Okay, now to get the value, what I need to use, what is the button text, I will say el dot get attribute of value. Why I'm going to use the get attribute of value, you can see it's not the text whatever it is displaying that is under this value. If I'm changing, let's say that I will show you on the front end, you can see if I do this like this, it will come. So the display value is depending on this value attribute. Some what do you call, input tags you will have in the beginning of input and at the end tag, beginning and end tag, like I shown in this note, right? Like this, if it is there where you will get this text, you have to use the get text. We will see that later. Okay, so here I'm going to put this one into a string and then put a str. Okay, and then put a semicolon. Okay, now first let me verify this one. If str dot equals, what is that, capital home, then I will say sout test case passed. Okay, simple thing I'm doing. Now once it is passed, then see there in future actually we will not be using this if else conditions. We can use some unit testing framework like testng or JUnit, where we can assert the expected and actual. So whatever we are getting from the browser, that is actual value means what is actually present in that. Now expected is basically this one. Okay, there we can assert, and if this assert fails, your test case will stop at this moment. If this if condition is failing also, it will proceed to the next line of code. Fine. Now what we can do, el dot click. Okay, because for click event is there, right? For a button we can do a click. Now after clicking, I am going to what do you call, return the driver dot get current url. Okay, so what this will give, this will give me the url after you click this button. If I go here, you can see it is currently, if I go this, it is currently demo sign up screen, right? If I click on this home button, it will be going to the directly to the home screen, so where the demo is the last URL. Okay, now let's see that if it is going to print or not. You can even driver dot get current URL, you can put it into a string and compare what is your expected URL it should be. Fine. Now let me execute this one. Okay, so it's fetching that. Now you can see it navigated to this home screen and it closed. And here you can see test case passed. And here you can see from demo slash sign up, it navigated to the demo after clicking on this button. Like that, you can validate. Now, buttons again, like you can have only these two things because you cannot enter, you cannot clear the text, you cannot basically do anything actually. There could be one scenario actually, like let's say that there will be one scenario where on your entire screen there should be only one button present, and that should be next button actually. So what you can do, you can identify like this driver dot find element by home button, and then you can put, so instead of find element you can use find elements actually. Now in this case what will happen, with this name how many elements are there on your browser screen, current screen, it will fetch everything and put it into a list of web element. I'll show you that. So here what you can do for that particular scenario where you want to count the number of elements, so here we can do like this, and here we will say buttons and equal to, instead of a driver dot find element I can do driver dot find elements. Now what this will do, let me import this one, and here I can print the buttons dot size. Okay, by doing this I can identify there should be only one instance of the home button only, because some applications you will see the developer would have by mistakenly would have overlapped the buttons, or somewhere they put it but they made it hidden, or I mean some kind of scenario should be there. So like if you see add buttons in every screen, there should be only one add button only. So at that moment you need to verify like this. Okay, to perform the actions you can do like this, but to what do you call, to fetch the size of element, how many elements are present or the count of number of elements, you can do like this. And this is not only limited to your buttons only, you can even, let's say that you have a requirement where there should be only three text boxes on your screen, so at that moment you can use like this actually. Okay, and you have to use the proper locator strategy for that, and you can count it should be three. Like that you can validate. Fine. Okay, so that is pretty much about the buttons actually, and we have learned what are the actions. Now there are radio buttons. Radio buttons are kind of collection of your buttons actually, but you can choose one option at the time. Okay, it means that if you have collection of web elements of radio button type, where the type equal to radio, you can only choose any one of this. Okay, like if I'm choosing one, then these things I cannot choose, but if you are opting another option, then this will be unselected. Okay, now what are the requirement it could be. Now you can see this is a real time what you call example where you want to choose a year of experience when you're applying for a job or you are updating your profile. There actually you can have only one option. Even multiple choice questions, you have to have only one choice only from that multiple choices. So at that time we will use the radio buttons. What are the actions? Definitely, because it is a input with a button type, so or a radio type, you can click any one of this. And another thing you need to make sure that if the radio button is checked or not. Checked means properly clicked or not. Basically button, if you're clicking anything, you can get the response actually or the reaction. Like in this sense, we have clicked the home button, you cannot see whether it is checked or not. But how do you verify? By doing this, right? By getting the driver dot current URL. So whatever it is written on the back end, on the button click, what it should have been done, that one you can verify. Whereas checkboxes or your radio buttons, you can verify even on the runtime whether it is properly checked or not. Okay, so there are selenium methods available which you can use and verify after you clicked on that button whether it is properly checked or not. Okay, so let's go to this IntelliJ and copy paste one of this and make it for radio buttons. Okay, and then let me comment all these things, or let it be, I will delete later. Fine. Now let's go to this application actually. This application where I have to go to the sign up form, and then here this is what the radio button looks like. Okay, here you can see year of experience. This is the basically the level, and each radio button is tagged as input, where you can see the type is radio. There is a common name you can see. All of these radio buttons have the same name only, and the value is unique actually. Here I have given one value attribute, and there is a display text. You can see these are the display text. So now what is unique actually in this radio button? Definitely I cannot use by name actually, because I will get number of instances actually, so I cannot perform the action. If I do a type again, I will get all these radio buttons count, so I cannot use. But I can use the value attribute to click any one of these option. Let's say you want to choose the fourth radio button. What I can do, I can directly go with a identify by using XPath or CSS selector, and I will say wherever the value equal to 4, check that checkbox actually. Okay, so this could be one of the scenario. So first thing what we will do, identify these radio buttons and let's count to make sure how many. 8 should be there. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, there should be 8 radio buttons. So what I can do here, so I will again go with a list of web element, because whenever count is coming we have to use the list of web element only. So I will say radio buttons, some name I'm taking, and driver dot find elements I'm doing. Okay, by dot name and experience, actually you can see experience, I will put it here. Okay, and here this one, now here I'm putting this as out, and here I will say radio buttons dot size. I'm not comparing at this moment. Definitely you can use that. Let me just import this, and this list is basically coming from the Java util. Okay, you can see here this is pure Java only. So now this size should return me 8 actually. So should be 8. That is what I need to verify. You can put an if else condition like how I did for text box or buttons. Okay, now this is my first validation. Second validation is that I can choose a particular radio button actually. Now or else what even I can do, like let's say that I want to print all the values of the radio button. Okay, all the values, just to make sure that if these are correct or not. So what I can do, this radio button I can loop it actually. I can use a enhanced for loop, like I can do like this web element, or I can say button of what actually radio buttons, right? And here what I will do, simple thing, I will do like this btn dot get text or attribute. I want to get this value actually, so then what I will do, get attribute I will do. Okay, get attribute of what value. But if you want to get the text actually, you see here this is one, but it is not under a input beginning and end tag. This is just displaying as it is only, so I cannot use the get text. I have to use the get attribute of a value only. Like this I can print. Even let's say that, like as I was telling, that if the radio button is 4, then click it. So what I can do, I can put a if condition here, and I will say button dot get attribute of value equal to or dot equals 4. 4 should be in small letters. You can see here, if it is 4, then check this. Check means what I can do, button dot click. Okay, a simple button click event only. So see, these radio buttons are consisting of the collection of all these buttons. So whose value is 4, you click on that button and even verify here. Even verify, I can even verify. So here what it is, I can say checked, and I can say like this checked, and here I can do to make sure that if this button is really checked or not, I can do like this button dot is selected. There is a option actually is selected. I can use this method actually here. This will return me true or false whether this radio button is really selected or not. Or else there is another option also. I can show you that. So here this could be one, and another one is let me make it like this, selected, and another one is checked. So checked, and then here I'll put like this. This is just for displaying purpose. Now what is the method? Now I can say get attribute of, and here I can use checked actually. So now these are the two methods I can use to verify whether this particular option is checked or not for me. Or else what I can do, let's say that I want to select directly any one of this option. I don't want to loop it. Let's say that 7 I want to check it. Now what is the 7's value actually here? It is 7, right? Now I can use the selectors hub which we have seen in our previous session. I can create or build an XPath actually. What I can do here, input, and I will say here like this, input whose value equal to, and here I will say 7. Now you can see it is identifying this one. Even I can use a CSS selector. Let me use like this, and here maybe after this I will wait for a second so that you can see that particular fourth option is selected. Then what I will do, driver dot find element by dot xpath, right? Xpath, and here I will say like this, and then dot click. Okay, we can see that one in action as well. Now all these things, let me delete. These were the copy pasted ones. Fine. Now what I'm doing, first thing is that I'm counting the number of elements, number of radio buttons present. Then I'm looping over and printing all the values of the radio button. Then I'm comparing the required one. So I want to select the fourth one, right? So if the attribute value is matching with the 4, then select it and then verify also whether it is checked or not. And we have two different ways I can get it. Let's see what these two are printing actually for us. Then so if you don't want to loop it and do everything, you can use the XPath or CSS selector to. If it is CSS selector, simple thing, this double slash and this at the rate you need to remove, and here you have to put a CSS selector. Now let's see. So what this will do, this will put the size, select the fourth option, and then select the seventh option. Let's see this in action. Okay, fourth one, and then seventh one, and then it will close the browser. Now let's see what it is printing. You can see it looped. Actually what we would have done, after it is printing, after this is equal to 4, I can do a break actually. Now what this will do, this will not verify any other options actually. Now this is this loop, why I continued, so that you can see all options available. But normally whenever you are choosing a radio button, you have to put a break, because see, one, you will get only one unique option only to choose in the radio button. It is not like a list box where, or a checkbox where you can choose multiple check boxes actually. So this is like this I'm commenting at this moment. But here you can see total number of size is 8, and it is printing each value, and wherever it is fourth it checked, and then you can see both of these methods are working for us. So you can use these methods to verify whether the radio button is checked or not. And after everything, we already seen that the seventh option is checked, and then it closed the browser. So like this actually you can automate the checkboxes, sorry, radio buttons. Fine. Okay. Now there are possible is there where you can choose multiple options actually. Now at that moment you cannot use the radio buttons. Like for an example, in the real time, let's say you want to choose skills actually. Now you cannot have one skill, right? You might have manual testing, automation testing, API testing, or else any HTML, Java programming. All these options are there you have to choose multiple options, so that time you cannot use the radio button. As a design perspective I'm telling, so the developer will put those things as checkboxes. Now if I go to this checkbox, right click and inspect, you will see it is exactly similar like your, what do you call, like your radio buttons. The only difference is that your type equal to checkbox. Okay, and you can see the name is similar only, doesn't matter, but the type is checkbox, where even though it is in one group, actually in one language group, you can check any one of this option. Like I can check this manual testing, automation testing, and also HTML. All these three things I can, what do you call, I can select it. Now let's identify these options actually here. Okay, what I will do, again the same concept I will be doing, but I will be selecting multiple options in this case. So for this I will copy this radio button and I will paste it, and then I will make it as a checkbox, and no buttons. These are the checkbox samples. Now, if you see the note, the actions would be the same thing. Check the checkbox and verify whether it is checked or not. Okay, fine. Now, what I can do, I will utilize the same one only. Instead of experience, what is the here? The name is language, right? So let me double click, copy it, and then here paste it. Now, this will give me not the radio buttons, but the checkboxes. Check boxes. Okay, and here the same thing, this is checkboxes dot size. Normally whenever you are using two words, the first should be in small letter, make sure you do like this, and then checkboxes dot size, it should be how many, 1 2 3 4 5, so there has to be only 5 only, so this should be 5. Fine. Now again I can loop it, but so let me put this one as it is. Now in this case I'm getting the value because there is a attribute of value right here, so I'm taking this one. Now in this case what I'm going to do, no break actually and no comparison. For an instance, okay, let's say for the first time I'm doing a checkbox, actually here I'm checking only one. So let's say if the value is matching with the selenium, then you check, means what, this will be automation testing. You can see the displaying is automation testing, but this particular options value is a selenium only. So if it is selenium, if it is selenium, selenium is capital, right? Yeah, then check for checking, for check the checkbox also, button dot click only, and here you can use the same two methods only which we have used. And let's say that if you have two different checkboxes whose value is selenium, then it will check both of these options only. Okay, contrast to your radio buttons. So that's why I'm not going to put a break here, and we can do like this and then wait for 2 seconds. The same way, let's say that I want to choose the C sharp here or maybe Java. So what I can do, wherever the value is matching as a Java, you check this one. Input is there, value Java. There is only one instance. How do you identify? Let me execute this in selectors hub actually. Okay, oops, it is not matching. Why? Let's see that. So here okay, capital J actually this is. Okay, you can see it is matching. So here also I need to make sure it should be capital J. Oops, capital J A V A. So it will check the automation testing checkbox and then the Java text box actually here. Now in this case, like not like radio button, first it chosen checked the 4, then it unchecked and checked the 7. But in this case it will do like this, automation testing and also Java. So both the checkboxes you will see in action. Okay, let's run this one quickly. You can see automation testing, and then I think there is some issue came. Let's see what is the problem. Driver dot find element. Oh, XPath is not correct. It should be proper XPath. So I should be copying properly and then here paste it. And then for this time, let me close this browser. You see now this browser is still present only because it failed this line of code and it didn't go to the driver.quit. Okay, any exceptions if you are getting, then it won't proceed to the next line of code. Okay, so let me close this and then rerun this one. Can see automation testing, and then it will click on Java. You can see two checkboxes are now checked. Okay, and it is printing all of your options whatever we had, and it should be 5, right? And here also we have written that one. So like this you can do that. Either you can use looping if you want to just identify the values, and then so whatever the selenium value is matching, that many checkboxes it can check, what do you call, one by one. Okay, so these are the possible ways of verifying and performing the actions on all these four different types, because these are all similar way but just behaving a bit different. So I thought to put it into one session. In our upcoming sessions, we will see some more interesting browser elements, how we can automate, and we will always see the real time use cases only. So stay tuned and do subscribe to this YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.